From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
Hello and welcome to WION World is One. You're watching Gravitas with me, Haim Korsaro, and here's what we've lined up for you on the show tonight. We've been bringing you stories of destruction and displacement from Gaza. Today, we will get you a glimpse of the ghost city of Gaza. Stay tuned for that. Also on Gravitas tonight, are Mossad and Qatar in cahoots? Why did Mossad back off from the recent Israeli mission to wipe out Hamas leadership on Qatari soil? Stay tuned for this special report. Also on the show, Russia has now returned to the age-old barter trade system to skirt international sanctions. Is this a sign of Russian resilience or deeper cuts within its economic foundation? We will explore.
People of Gaza deserve a better future, but that better future cannot begin until Hamas is eliminated. That better future and that kind of peace is not even possible until the hostages are released, all of them, every single one.
Our top story on Gravitas tonight. In Gaza, Palestinians are being bombed, starved and driven out of even their tents by the Israeli army. Whole neighborhoods are now ghost towns. And the United States? It's just watching it all unfold in real time. It is, as usual, backing Israel. The United States has reissued its unwavering support for Israel, even as missiles rain down on Gaza and Palestinians bleed. On Monday, Israel struck and brought down a 16-story Al-Ghafari tower, the tallest building in the Palestinian enclave. What's shocking is that residents were given just 1 hour to evacuate, 1 hour to flee their homes, 1 hour before Israel carried out its strike. Now, Israel said that the buildings served to hide terrorist infrastructure. No casualties were reported there, but elsewhere in the city, at least 16 Palestinians were killed as buildings crumbled under Israeli fire. Now, Israel says that it is targeting Hamas infrastructure, but pictures from the ground tell a different story. 2 years on, whole neighborhoods in Gaza are wiped out. Palestinians return home to dust and rubble. Palestinian families are returning to shattered homes only to find ghost towns. The Israeli army has pulled back from Khan Yunis, declaring Hamad city a safe zone. But what residents have come back to is rubble and eerie silence. Entire apartment blocks, once home to thousands, are now hollow shells. Visuals show displaced Palestinians sifting through debris, setting up tents. They mourn the lives lost and the memories erased. All this while US Secretary of State Marco Rubio visited Israel and once again reissued Washington's steadfast support for its ally, calling for the eradication of Hamas, which is the stated goal often cited by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to justify the constant bombardment of Gaza.
People of Gaza deserve a better future, but that better future cannot begin until Hamas is eliminated. That better future and that kind of peace is not even possible until the hostages are released, all of them, every single one. And so that's what we continue to be focused on. That's what the president wants to see happen. And that's what you can count on our unwavering support and commitment to see come to fruition.
Now, Netanyahu said Rubio's visit was a clear message the United States stands with Israel. He praised US President Donald Trump for backing him, calling him the greatest friend that Israel has ever had.
Presence here in Israel today is a clear message that America stands with Israel. You stand with us in the face of terror, in the face of the incredible, I would almost say, Middle Ages lies that are directed against us, the rising anti-Semitism in the world, and the really the weak governments that are putting pressures on us because they collapse under the pressure of Islamist minorities and incredible vilification.
Now, as calls for a Palestinian state grow louder across the globe, Rubio warned that Western nations' actions only embolden Hamas. Rubio said he would discuss with Netanyahu Israeli plans to seize Gaza City and the Palestinian territory's largest urban center. He also said he will discuss with Israeli government its plans to annex parts of the occupied West Bank in hopes of precluding a Palestinian state. Rubio said that Trump wanted the Gaza war to be finished, which would mean the release of hostages and ensuring that Hamas is no longer a threat. But hopes for talks diminished once again last week when the Trump administration was caught off guard by an Israeli attack in Qatar to eliminate Hamas leaders who were meeting to discuss a new US ceasefire proposal for Gaza. Now, Rubio said that Washington would continue to tell Qatar to press on with its efforts as an intermediary in the Gaza war. All this as Gaza continues to suffer. The health ministry in Hamas-run Gaza said that the Israelis were pushing more people into the already overcrowded Al-Mawasi, an area which lacks the basics such as food, water, and where disease is spreading exponentially. This conflict continues to devastate ordinary Palestinians. In recent days, Israel has expanded its operation and intensified strikes across Gaza City. So far, Israel's retaliatory offensive has killed over 64,900 Palestinians. And Gaza today is a land of ruins. And for those returning, home no longer exists. And have Mossad and Qatar's intelligence agency been cooperating? We ask you this because when Israel announced last week that it had targeted senior Hamas leadership inside Qatar, one name was notably absent from this official narrative: Mossad. Israel's top spy agency that has overseen major overt operations across the globe ever since the country's formation in 1948. So then, why did Israel's spy agency step back from such a major operation? Mossad reportedly even prepared a plan for assassination of Hamas leaders on Qatari soil, but ultimately refused to carry it out. Now, according to reports, Mossad chief David Barnea opposed this move, as it could potentially damage the relationship Mossad had built with Qatar. As you know, Qatar has long hosted Hamas figures while serving as a mediator in ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza war. And without Mossad, Israel shifted its strategy. Instead of deploying Mossad agents on the ground, the military sent 15 fighter jets that fired 10 missiles from a distance. According to Hamas, the attack missed its intended targets, including acting leader Khalil al-Hayya. Instead, relatives, aides, and even a Qatari officer were reportedly killed. In the aftermath, there are several questions that emerge. Why was Mossad unwilling to repeat tactics it has used before? Because just last year, remember, its operatives planted explosives in Tehran that killed Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh. So why not in Doha this time? Did Mossad cooperate with Qatari intelligence and absolve itself? Inside Israel, security officials have been questioning the timing of the attack as well, noting that Hamas representatives in Qatar were weighing on a proposal from US President Donald Trump, an exchange of Israeli hostages for a ceasefire in Gaza. That's when the attack occurred. Even IDF's top general, Ayal Zamir, objected to the timing of the strike for fear of derailing the negotiations. Netanyahu's allies defended the strike, pointing to a rare chance. Hamas leaders gathered in one place. A recent deadly attack in Jerusalem and Gaza demanded retaliation, but that explanation has not stopped the diplomatic backlash that followed. Now, Qatar has condemned the raid as state terrorism. It's accused Israel of sabotaging mediation efforts. And for Netanyahu, the strike may have allegedly served other purposes. Analysts suggest he may have been unhappy with some of the proposals in Trump's Gaza peace proposal. At home, he may also have sought distance from Qatar after reports surfaced of his aides receiving money linked to Doha. Now, during a meeting with US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Netanyahu was asked if the assassination operation in Qatar was a failure. The Israeli Prime Minister declined to accept it. In his words, and I'm quoting here, "There is no safe place for terrorists." So where does this leave Israel? Did Mossad quietly coordinate with Qatari intelligence to avoid deeper fallout, or did it simply refuse to act on orders it believed to be reckless? One thing is certain. The shadow war between Israel, Hamas and Qatar is now in the open, and a lot of questions remain unanswered at this point. All right, and our next story is about Turkey. Now, reports suggest that Russia has approached Turkey with a proposal to buy back the S-400 air defense systems it sold to Ankara in 2019. The reason? Inventory shortages and increasing demand from third countries. The story was first reported with Ankara open to the plan as it seeks to circumvent US sanctions. This even as Ankara is yet to officially confirm this. Ukrainian military news site Militarny said that there is positive attitude towards Moscow's offer as well among Turkish officials. The S-400, it's a long-range surface-to-air missile defense system which was developed by Russia. It can track and target aircraft, drones, missiles up to 400 kilometers away. Moscow has used it to strengthen its own air defenses, especially in areas bordering NATO countries. It is battle-tested and is considered one of the most advanced air defense platforms in the world. This request comes as Turkey, which is a NATO member, has been developing its own air defense system called the Steel Dome. This will reduce Turkey's reliance on Russian technology. Now, Russia appears to be in short supply of its own domestically made and supplied S-400s and is reportedly considering buying back these S-400 systems, which it sold to Turkey back in 2017. These were delivered in 2019 for $2.5 billion, following its unsuccessful attempts to buy US Patriot systems. Although Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan announced the systems would be fully operational by April 2020, Ankara still does not actively use them. They were never integrated into NATO. Their missiles are already halfway through their shelf life, and maintenance costs pose a burden for Ankara at this time. At that time, the deal had resulted in a spat with the US as well and saw Ankara being excluded from the F-35 program and the imposition of sanctions that followed. Now, at a time when NATO unity is being tested, getting rid of the S-400 would make it easier for Turkey to resume talks with the United States, and that's for the F-16 fighter jets, and to seek readmission into the F-35 program as well. So this is not the first time the fate of Turkey's S-400s has surfaced internationally. In 2023, the then Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu had said that the US has asked Ankara to send the S-400s to Ukraine, a proposal that Ankara strongly rejected. For Russia, the interest is simple. It is to replenish its own stockpile, with increasing Ukraine drone attacks as well as growing demand for these systems. It shouldn't come as a surprise that Russia would want it back at this point. And of course, technology is at the core of modern warfare. It is changing the way we fight. And when it comes to naval battles, a new kind of weapon is emerging that could soon replace traditional submarines. We're talking about water drones. These autonomous underwater drones are designed to operate silently without the need for human crew. The rise of these water drones marks a turning point in underwater warfare, where even the stealthiest submarines might find it hard to survive. With the help of artificial intelligence, these drones are becoming smarter, they're becoming faster and much harder to detect. Water drones are cost-effective, they're easy to deploy, unlike submarines which need complex maintenance, human crew and extensive resources. These drones can operate with little human oversight and are much cheaper as well to build and maintain. They are silent and can easily slip past enemy detection systems, making them perfect for reconnaissance, surveillance and even covert attacks. They can also operate in swarms, meaning that a group of drones can work together to complete one mission. Imagine multiple drones working as one team, coordinating with each other, covering more ground and also becoming harder to track. Now that we know why water drones are so powerful, let's also take a look at the countries in race to develop them. The US Navy is reportedly developing the Orca extra large undersea drones. China is also building its own underwater swarms, and Russia is investing in nuclear-powered undersea drones. They're all investing heavily in autonomous and semi-autonomous underwater platforms. Australia is developing multi-purpose underwater drones to carry out intelligence, surveillance and strike operations. And India, it's building undersea drone swarms to counter China's maritime threat in the Indo-Pacific. All right, and coming up on the other side, we will tell you about Russia's chilling message to NATO, a dangerous rhetoric that is dangerously close to a full military confrontation. Also on the other side, India braces for a harsh winter as La Nina takes hold. And Keir Starmer faces what could be the biggest internal challenge to his leadership to date. All of this on the other side. Fears ripple across Eastern Europe as drones test new frontiers, first in Poland last week and now Romania. The Kremlin is sending a chilling message that NATO is de facto at war with Russia. This rising rhetoric comes amidst fears that the world's most dangerous standoff is edging closer to direct military confrontation. Here's a report.
Radar lights up over Romanian airspace. Fighter jets are launched in seconds. Romania says a Russian drone breach triggered the scramble. Polish authorities had warned earlier of similar incursions. Tension spikes from Warsaw to Bucharest. Moscow has once again asserted that it has nothing to do with the drone incursions. Now Kremlin has issued a strong statement, saying that NATO is de facto involved in this war. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev warns that NATO countries shooting down Russian drones over Ukraine would be treated as a direct act of war. At the same time, Russia is parading its deadliest hardware, hypersonic missiles screaming through the air. Russia continues its Zapad 2025 exercises with Belarus. Moscow unleashed the Onyx cruise missile and the Kinzhal hypersonic missile. Each shot is a message to Ukraine and to NATO. The Onyx, known as a ship killer, travels at supersonic speed, fast, low, and designed to pierce through modern air defenses. The Kinzhal is even more menacing. Fired from MiG-31 jets, it strikes at more than 10 times the speed of sound. Western experts say it's almost impossible to intercept. On other hand, NATO is bolstering its eastern flank. More NATO countries will move troops and fighter jets eastwards. France has sent 3 Rafale fighter jets. And Germany has pledged 4 Eurofighters. For now, neither side is blinking, and Ukraine, scarred and shattered, remains the arena where Russia and NATO edge closer to open confrontation. Euro Report, WION, World is One.
And 2 US military officers turned up to watch the mega war drills being held between Russia and Belarus, a sight that is sure to leave NATO stunned. Belarus rolled out a warm welcome, even offering the Americans the best locations to observe the military drills. Take a look. one lasting and horrifying image from the Gen Z protests in Kathmandu last week. The disturbing visuals that emerged of Nepal's former Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba and his wife Dr. Arzu Rana Deuba, the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, assaulted inside their home during violent demonstrations on the 9th of September. It was targeted violence against the political class. The tension has been so palpable that nearly a week after the assault, the Nepali Congress has formally called the assault inhumane and barbaric and demanded a full investigation. Both Deuba and his wife hold top positions in the party. This attack illustrates the violence and vandalism that took place, possibly under the guise of Gen Z protests that swept the country this month. In the backdrop of all of this, Nepal faces a new test. Interim Prime Minister Sushila Karki has taken charge officially. The big question that looms: can she deliver peace, stability and honesty in a nation torn apart by corruption scandals, violent protests and public anger? Karki, a 73-year-old former Chief Justice, has promised that she will fight corruption head-on. She has already announced that parliamentary elections will be held next March, setting a clear deadline for change. She insists she is not clinging to power, vowing instead to step aside after 6 months and hand over control to an elected government, something that many leaders have said in the past but have failed to do so. Just take Bangladesh as an example. Despite the forced exile of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina in August last year, an interim government continues to remain in charge in Dhaka. Although Chief Advisor Muhammad Yunus has promised elections in February next year, even after 13 months he continues to cling to power, and the fate of the elections in Bangladesh continues to remain a major question.
I was compelled to take charge. This is why I am working with my team, and we are not here to taste power. My age does not support that either. We were asked to join and take charge. We are here to serve the country, and we will only stay here for 6 months, not more than that. After completing all the tasks and responsibilities, we will be free and we will hand it over to the new ministers and the parliament.
All right. But promises are one thing. The protests that ousted the previous administration have left deep mistrust of politicians in Nepal. And while many young protesters marched peacefully, vandals hiding among them looted offices and destroyed property. In broad daylight, the president's office has appealed for their return and even guaranteed confidentiality for anyone willing to hand them back. That leaves Karki with her toughest challenge yet. How does she separate genuine voices from vandals and unruly elements? How does she enforce law and order? The challenge is separating the genuine protesters from vandals who have massively dented Nepal, not only materially, but also set a new paradigm of heinous attacks. This is likely to be her biggest litmus test. Nepal is watching. The region is watching. While Sushila Karki will be remembered as the caretaker who restored trust, peace and honesty in a country reeling in political turmoil. Only time and her actions will give us the answer to that. Now, we turn our attention to Bangladesh, where the student wing of the Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami, Islami Chhatra Shibir, has now won elections in 2 of the country's most influential university campuses. The latest election win comes near Dhaka. Days earlier, Shibir swept the Dhaka University Central Students' Union polls. This reportedly marks the first time since 1971 that an Islamist student group has won elections in Dhaka University's powerful student body. But the development is not just about student politics. For New Delhi, this rise of Jamaat-e-Islami student wing signals a troubling shift in Bangladesh's political landscape. Remember, former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government, the Awami League, had outlawed Shibir in August 2024, only days before Hasina was forced to exile by the student-led protests. The interim government quickly reversed the ban, opening the door for Shibir's electoral resurgence. These campus victories are unfolding at a crucial time against the backdrop of the February 2026 national election. Dhaka University polls have been seen as a political barometer. And now this tide appears to be turning for Jamaat's favor. Other universities and beyond are expected to head for election soon as well, giving an opportunity for further strengthening their footprint. At the same time, the 8-party Islamist coalition is already charting a joint action plan for the general election announced by the chief advisor Muhammad Yunus last month. For India, the prospect of Jamaat gaining significant power in Dhaka could open the door to increased cross-border hostility. Experts warn of closer coordination with Pakistan's ISI and a surge in security threats along the border. So this could also impact Bangladesh's Hindu minority, because in the first few months following Hasina's forced exile, there were waves of violence and persecution against minorities. And this fresh rise raises fears of renewed targeting of Hindus. India now watches closely as Jamaat's resurgence could potentially transform campus victories into a broader political challenge with direct consequences for the region. And a dangerous legacy of World War II continues to poison Europe's seas. I'm talking about mountains of corroding ammunition that were dumped in the seas after the war, which are now lining the seabed of the Baltic and the North Seas. Divers are racing against time to recover the rusting shells before the toxic chemicals in them spread further and contaminate marine life. Germany has launched a €100 million project to clean up the ocean floor, but experts warn the problem is vast and global. Take a look.
Im Moment ist es so, dass für die Ostsee geht man von 300.000 Tonnen aus und für die Nordsee nochmal ca. 1,3 Millionen Tonnen. Und es ist so, dass nach und nach das Material wegkorrodiert und sich in keinem guten Zustand befindet.
All right, let's shift our focus. British politics, it's gripped by increasing tensions as Labour Prime Minister Keir Starmer faces what could perhaps be the biggest internal challenge to his leadership to date. Amid a backdrop of public unrest, political scandals and sliding poll numbers, speculation is mounting that Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham is preparing to make a bold move, one that could threaten Starmer's grip on power. Andy Burnham, who is an outspoken Labour mayor of Greater Manchester, widely tipped as a potential successor, and he's doing little to deny it as well. Andy Burnham is positioning himself as a rival now to Starmer. He's launched a new campaign group for taxes on accumulated wealth and assets, government ownership on utility companies, and removal of Britain's two-child benefit cap. Burnham is expected to openly criticize Starmer at the Labour Party's annual conference later this month. He has thrown his weight behind Lucy Powell, the former minister who was controversially sacked by Starmer in his latest reshuffle, who's now running for deputy leader. The timing? No coincidence. It comes just as Starmer prepares to unveil his government's so-called Phase 2 agenda. Not only this, in mere 1 year into the job, he has lost a huge chunk of public support. His approval ratings are down from 44% to 24%. The party is lagging behind Reform UK in recent polls, and now with discomfort growing within the Labour ranks. This internal turbulence follows a rough few weeks for Starmer. First came the shock resignation of Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, then the sacking of US Ambassador Peter Mandelson. Starmer is still facing intense scrutiny over his decision to appoint Mandelson as US Ambassador, despite leaked files revealing links to convicted late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Downing Street insists Starmer had no knowledge of those ties at the time of Mandelson's appointment, but the opposition benches and even some Labour MPs are not convinced. The fallout, swift, brutal. Questions remain about what Starmer knew and also when. The scandal has rattled confidence in Starmer's judgment. It has raised serious concerns about the vetting process at the highest levels of the government. In an effort to regain control of the political narrative, the Prime Minister unveiled what is being described as a landmark nuclear partnership with the US. The new deal signed coincides with Donald Trump's high-profile visit to the UK and will fast-track approval for a new generation of small modular nuclear reactors, which aim to boost energy. This is for British energy independence and to drive billions into the economy. But critics are calling it damage control and not leadership. The pressure on Starmer is mounting from within his own ranks. Many Labour MPs are voicing growing concerns as well, warning that Starmer's position will be in serious jeopardy if he cannot show significant improvement by key local elections next May. Starmer's handling of immigration particularly, the rising number of boat crossings and his response to escalating street protests have drawn sharp criticism, not just from the public but increasingly, once again, from within his own ranks. Now, of course, this friction is ideological too. Starmer has worked hard to distance Labour from left-wing politics of Jeremy Corbyn, steering the party towards a more centrist, electable platform. But that strategy has come at a cost. Many within Labour, especially on the grassroots, see Starmer's vision as a betrayal of the party's core values. With Burnham's faction now gaining ground and Labour MPs openly speculating about a leadership contest, the Prime Minister's future is looking anything but secure. And guess what has made a comeback in Russia? Good old-fashioned barter trade. Well, we can't vouch for good, but old-fashioned for sure. Barter trade is back for the first time since the 1990s. So what's happening? Companies are swapping wheat for Chinese cars and flax seeds for building materials. Why? To circumvent sweeping Western sanctions. It's no secret that Russia has, over the years, developed a penchant for skirting Western sanctions. In fact, the Russian leadership has spoken of how they aren't scared of sanctions anymore since they're so used to operating under them. But barter for wheat and flax seeds? One can't deny that this does, to a certain degree anyway, reflect how deeply the Ukraine war has distorted the global trade for the world's biggest producers of natural resources. So 3 decades after the collapse of the Soviet Union and its economic integration with West, Russia is once again relying on alternative, hard-to-trace methods of exchange. The United States, Europe and allies have imposed over 25,000 sanctions on Moscow since its 2014 annexation of Crimea and the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Under Trump's tariffs tirade, Washington has warned Chinese banks and, of course, has hit India with tariffs over the oil trade with Russia. We know this. While President Vladimir Putin claims the economy has weathered the storm, outpacing G7 growth in recent years, the central bank does acknowledge it is technically in recession with inflation running high. One of the most punishing measures, Russia's exclusion from the SWIFT global payment system. It's made international banking almost impossible. Beijing's lenders too are wary of secondary sanctions. They're increasingly reluctant to handle Russian money. That has pushed trade partners towards barter transactions that require no financial transfers and are far harder to track. In 2024, Russia's economy ministry even issued a 14-page guide to foreign barter transactions, suggesting companies use barter platforms to bypass these sanctions. Since then, deals have multiplied. As per Reuters, at least 8 barter arrangements have been identified in recent months. This includes Chinese cars exchanged, as mentioned earlier, for Russian wheat, flaxseed swapped for appliances, construction materials, and metals traded for machinery. A customs filing in the Urals region valued one flax deal at roughly $100,000. For many Russians, barter stirs memories of the chaotic 1990s when runaway inflation, shortages forced businesses into sprawling chains of goods for goods deals that distorted pricing and enriched opportunists. This time, however, barter arises not from a lack of money but from sanctions pressure and the risks of conventional banking. Analysts note that barter now extends beyond China. Deals have been reported with Pakistan and discreetly with firms importing Western goods into Russia despite sanctions. Other workarounds include using payment agents, cryptocurrencies. As per some experts, the growth of barter is a symptom of de-dollarization, sanctions pressure and liquidity problems. Now, be that as it may, does this move remind you of something else? The resurgence of barter in Russian trade bears a striking resemblance to the dynamics that triggered the Opium Wars. Under the Qing dynasty, Western nations, particularly Britain, faced a trade imbalance. Europe wanted Chinese tea, silk, porcelain, but China demanded payment only in silver, refusing to accept Western goods. So, to break this deadlock, Britain began illegally trading Indian opium into China, creating an informal barter system that bypassed official currency channels. While this method may not be the same, and it is not, the same old forces are at play. Whether Russia's turn to barter signals resilience or vulnerability remains to be seen. But if history is anything to go by, it would be safe to assume at this point that such strategies are often mere stopgaps that expose deeper fractures in a nation's economic foundation. And the Pacific is heating up. America's Typhoon missile system has landed in Japan, and with it, Asia's arms race just got sharper, faster, more dangerous. The United States has quietly rolled out its Typhoon missile systems on Japanese soil, a weapon designed to strike fast, far, and with precision. The missile has been deployed temporarily during the annual Resolute Dragon exercise. This 2-week drill involves 20,000 Japanese and US troops, along with warships and missile batteries. This move sends shockwaves across Asia. The Typhoon is the land-based launcher. It can launch Tomahawk cruise missiles and SM-6 interceptors capable of hitting ships, aircraft, land targets hundreds of miles away. It has enough range to strike China's eastern seaboard or parts of Russia from Japan.
So we continuously train its multiple threat SAS for our ADI series, but it's adversary agnostic. And so we train against the capabilities that this system is designed to go against. Aerial access, aerial denial systems is what we train against. We work through those in both a competitive environment, a constructive environment, and then deploying the system in a real tactical scenario. And that's what we train against.
Now, the system can move by road, be set up in hours, and rain down firepower without warning. Analysts say it shrinks the response time in any conflict and pushes the region closer to a hair-trigger environment. For Washington and Tokyo, it's about deterrence. For rivals in Beijing and Pyongyang, it's escalation.
China always firmly opposes the US deploying the Typhoon intermediate range missile system in Asian countries. Deploying the intermediate range missile system in Japan will further harm other countries' legitimate security interests and pose a substantial threat to strategic security in the region.
All right, and Japan, already pouring billions of US dollars into defense, now stands at the front line of the great power contest. The Typhoon mobile and lethal plugs into America's wider Indo-Pacific strategy, encircling China's growing naval might and checking North Korea's unpredictable missile tests. And the chill is coming. This time it's deeper. A powerful atmospheric event is gaining strength over the Pacific, and its chilling effects are set to sweep across the subcontinent. India braces for a harsh winter as La Nina takes hold. Experts warn, brace for icy winds, biting cold, and a season like no other. Take a look.
Bundle up, because India could be in for one of its coldest winters in years. Meteorologists say that the La Nina effect is set to dominate by year's end. A climate phenomenon known to push mercury down, trigger sharp winds and fuel a season of extremes. So what exactly is La Nina? In simple words, it's when the Pacific Ocean cools unusually, flipping weather patterns worldwide. Its counterpart is El Niño, when Pacific waters heat up, bringing scorching summers and weaker monsoons. But this time, La Nina is strengthening. Experts predict that by December, icy blasts could sweep through northern India, chilling the plains and even stretching into the heart of the Deccan. Cities like Delhi, Lucknow and Jaipur may witness prolonged cold waves. The warning comes after India has already seen unpredictable weather swings, searing heat waves, erratic rains and late monsoon. A biting La Nina winter could mean rising energy bills, as heaters and geysers run non-stop, while vulnerable communities battle frost and health risks. Neighboring countries Nepal, Bhutan and parts of Pakistan are also on alert. Globally, La Nina winters have disrupted aviation, transport and food supplies. The last major spell in 2021 froze large swathes of North India and affected supply chains. This year, the signs are clear. The cold is coming, and India must brace for the bite of La Nina. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Generation Z, it's speaking up, louder, more resolutely about mental health. A new survey reveals majority Gen Z face emotional struggles and mental duress, and Gen Z women are bearing the brunt of this mental health crisis. Nearly 2/3 of young people aged 16 to 25 say they've experienced a mental health problem. This according to a recent YouGov survey. The findings reveal an unsettling truth: emotional well-being issues have become a norm. But there's a sharp divide. Women are far more likely than men to report struggles with their mental health. An overwhelming 35% of Gen Z women say they endure poor mental health, compared to just 21% men. This gender gap marks the widest divide seen among all age groups, spotlighting unique pressures women face today. Experts link this rising struggle to a toxic mix of social media pressures, economic uncertainty, and a future clouded by global crises. According to the survey, Gen Z spend an average of more than 6 hours daily on their phones, with many admitting addiction to social platforms that fuel anxiety through relentless comparison. Financial worries weigh heavily, with almost half of young adults feeling financially insecure. Still, there is resilience. Gen Z are actively seeking help, normalizing therapy and self-care more than previous generations. Around 42% report going to therapy. 68% have taken breaks from social media to protect their mental health. All right, now let's shift our focus to the Asia Cup match between India and Pakistan on Sunday. It was an outing to forget for Pakistan. Not only were they comprehensively beaten by India and Dubai, they were also left embarrassed on the field in more ways than one. For starters, there were no customary handshakes between the two sides, both during the toss and after the match. Usually, captains shake hands before play begins, but on Sunday, Indian captain Surya Kumar Yadav could not be bothered. The PCB has now lodged a complaint with the ICC, alleging that match referee Andy Pycroft had instructed Salman Ali Agha not to shake hands with his Indian counterpart. Pakistan has even demanded that the Zimbabwean official be removed from the tournament. Then after the game, the Indian team refused to shake hands with Pakistan or share other pleasantries. The players left the dugout and headed straight into the dressing room. Pakistan has now lodged a protest with the organisers, Asian Cricket Council, regarding that as well. As for the game, it was very one-sided. India dominated from the start, never let them get a grip of the game. Stellar shows from Kuldeep Yadav, Akshar Patel and captain Surya Kumar Yadav helped India win by 7 wickets with 25 balls remaining. The victory also extended India's dominance over Pakistan to 11-3 in the T20Is. The result wasn't a surprise. India were the stronger side on paper and on the field, and that has been the case for a while now. But perhaps the biggest embarrassment came before the first ball was bold, and it was due to a faux pas made by the DJ and the sound team. It has now become a tradition to play the national anthem of both countries before play starts. Pakistan's national anthem was supposed to be the first to be played. But just as Pakistan players were gearing up to sing the national anthem, the Dubai International Stadium echoed with Tisher and Jason Derulo's pop hit Jalebi Baby. This goof-up left the Pakistan players visibly irritated. This mistake was quickly fixed, their anthem was finally played. But those 6 seconds were enough for social media to have a field day. And even Tisher himself joined in on the fun.
When I said Jalebi Baby was an anthem, this is not what I had in mind.
And in a historic day for Indian boxing, the team signed off from the World Boxing Championships with 4 medals, their best ever performance outside India. Jasmine Alambroya and Meenakshi Huda led the charge in Liverpool, punching their way to gold medals. Huda had controversially lost the World Cup final to Kazakhstan's Nazim Kazaybe just a month ago. In England, she got her shot at redemption, and she made it count. The 48 kg category might not be an Olympic one, but it is in India fiercely contested. The 24-year-old used her physical advantage to keep the 3-time world champion at bay. Huda defeated the Paris Olympic bronze medalist on a 4-1 split decision. Meenakshi is the youngest of 4 siblings. No one in her family had any connection to boxing. Her father, Sri Krishan, drives an auto rickshaw. He once hesitated to let her pursue the sport, but not because he didn't believe in her, because he feared that he wouldn't be able to support her. It was coach Vijay Huda who saw the fight in her. He convinced her father to give her a chance, and the rest is written in gold. Unlike Meenakshi Huda, Jasmine Lamboria comes from a family of boxers and carried a different kind of pressure and baggage. The 24-year-old suffered an early exit at the Paris Olympics but silenced her critics in Tokyo. Lamboria claimed India's first gold of this edition with a dominant 4-1 win over Paris Olympic silver medalist Julia Cesarumeta in 57 kg category. She comes from a proud sporting lineage. Her great-grandfather Hawa Singh was a heavyweight boxer and 2-time Asian Games gold medalist. Her grandfather, honorary captain Chandarbhan Lamboria, was a wrestler. She was trained by her uncle Sandeep Singh and Parvinder Singh, who were both national boxing champions. In Liverpool, Jasmine did not just live up to her family's legacy. She, in fact, has taken it forward now.
The competition is much tougher at the World Championships than at the Olympics, and Jasmine winning gold there is a huge achievement. She's also clinched gold at the World Cup, making 2025 a remarkable year for her. This form should serve her well in the upcoming Commonwealth Games and Asian Games, where she's likely to secure a top seeding.
And the red carpet at the Emmys witnessed an array of captivating looks, from Tim Cook's understated elegance to Pedro Pascal's modern tailoring and Jenna Ortega's show-stopping gothic glamour. As the cameras flashed, celebrities like Scarlett Johansson, Selena Gomez and Gary Oldman turned heads with their fashion choices, proving that for Hollywood's elite, the night's biggest awards aren't the only prizes to be won. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, attended the 77th Primetime Emmy Awards alongside other Apple executives. Jenna Ortega dazzled in a sheer jewel-encrusted top and a black skirt with a high slit. Her look was inspired by the 1992 film Death Becomes Her. Her Wednesday co-star, Gwendolyn Christie, opted for a sleek all-white Tom Ford suit with a fitted jacket and tailored trousers, which she paired with striking blood-red pointed shoes. Pedro Pascal made a bold fashion statement in a full ivory Celine suit with extra long sleeves, which he accessorized with stylish tinted sunglasses, crisp white sneakers. The look was a chic, modern take on formal wear. Gary Oldman then, who was nominated for his role in Slow Horses, also made a stylish appearance as in a black tailored suit with a red bow. Jude Law, who attended the ceremony, was seen walking the red carpet also in a tailored suit. Scarlett Johansson and her husband Colin Jost made a surprise appearance too at the Emmys. Johansson turned heads in a stunning butter yellow gown with a strapless neckline. Her elegant look was complemented by opulent diamond jewelry. Then comes Adam Scott from the show Severance, arrived with his wife Naomi, looking much more dashing than his on-screen character. He wore a two-toned suit with suspenders and a flower pin on his lapel. Selena Gomez, who was nominated for her role in Only Murders in the Building, looked absolutely radiant as always in a striking scarlet red Louis Vuitton gown with a one-shoulder design and a dramatic train. She was accompanied by her fiancé, Benny Blanco. Javier Bardem made a powerful political statement with his attire, wearing a keffiyeh with his tuxedo to show solidarity with the people of Palestine. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas. Thank you so much for tuning in. News and updates continue on the other side on WION The World is One. Stay tuned.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation, international war crimes, and millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change.